G'day Spurs fans, Paul the Hotspur hippie here. The only psychedelic soccer show on the internet. Look at my hair, it's all over the place. I've been driving with the windows down. On the day where a race stops the nation, yeah, it's Melbourne Cup Day in Australia, where, I don't know, people just throw money away and shoot horses. Not my tempo, I'll just put it that way. Now yesterday, because I was up during the night watching the game and doing a watch along, and I got a little bit of sleep, but not enough to get in the car, so I just took an easy day off yesterday. I thought I'd watch the Tottenham Aston Villa game again, because I know I like football and I like movies and I like music, and just because I like a movie doesn't mean I'll just watch it once. So I watched it twice, and I'm doing that a bit more this year. Often I'll watch maybe just the highlights again, the extended highlights, but I thought, you know, that was a good game, let's watch the whole lot, see if I notice anything. And I think what I'm seeing in the press or whatever, or media, is this idea that the game, Tottenham had a good second half, but maybe not so much a good first half. And the impression I got, and it's, you know, obviously when I'm watching the game I know the result and everything like that, but it's still easy to see when a team is on it and not on it. And for me, my overall impression of that game was the first half set us up for the second half. There was a lot we were doing that was really cool in that first half. We were really pushing Aston Villa hard. We could see that Unai Emery once again had bottled it against Tottenham, changed his system, decided to, you know, time waste and park the bus. And it's really players like, I mean, Bentancur was incredibly physical. It was, I mean, sometimes I think we had a bit of a lenient ref. The referee let an awful lot go, which is great, because they weren't like injuring tackles or anything like that, despite the Aston Villa players rolling around like they've been shot or just got bubonic plague or something like that. We were physical, we handled them very well, and Aston Villa didn't really break out of their own half that much. They did squeak through a couple of times, but they never really looked threatening. All these stories of months gone by of us playing kamikaze football, suicide football, that really hasn't cost us any goals, let alone results this year. In fact, I'm struggling to think of a goal we let in a similar fashion to what we were doing last year, where, you know, teams get a ball over the top. And last year, because our defence wasn't used to playing like that and our attack was not as efficient, that cost us points and games. It's costing us a lot less this year. Our attack is starting to shine as well. And towards the end of the first half, well, after 30 minutes, that's when Villa scored, really against the run of play. And it was a set piece. It was a Pedro Porro flick on. He probably should have ducked if he couldn't get his head on it. But hey, the ball fell. Porro did a great parry save, got his legs in the way, and you don't know, sometimes 50-50 who the ball's going to fall in front of. Sometimes it's our team, sometimes it's their team. That's just the way the cookie crumbles this time. And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about figures about, you know, it's so easy to spread a cliche, isn't it, these days? But just because a lot of people say something doesn't make it truthful, it doesn't make it factual. So even though there's still a lot of people saying, oh, we're vulnerable from set pieces, that's only the second we've let in this season. And the only figures I've seen that contradict that are these mysterious ones that include up to an arbitrary point last year, maybe even the whole year, to make the figures look really bad. Well, last season's over. In fact, last week's over, let's face it. So for all we can moan about our performances in the second half against Brighton and for the whole of the Crystal Palace game, really our two worst performances this year, they're in the past. And the results have been chalked into the history books. That's it, done and dusted. On we go, off we move. I'm also hearing talk about two mysterious tables being formed, one for home results and one for away results. Well, that doesn't exist either. And so, you know, I'm seeing not much praise and a lot of scrutiny still from you know, the media or people out there on the internet, and I think it's really quite unwarranted, considering that after this weekend, if we beat Ipswich, we're going to move at least up one place. So we're 7th at the moment. We're going to be at least 6th next week if we beat Ipswich, because Arsenal are playing Chelsea. One of those wins, we'll overtake the one that loses. If Chelsea and Arsenal draw, we will go above both of them. And if other things go our way, like I think it's if Nottingham Forest lose and someone else loses as well, we could be 3rd. So when you're within striking distance of the sticky end of the table, I think it's a bit disingenuous to say things are so bad at Tottenham. Now, of course, it is on I suppose you could say, a bit of a knife edge. If we have a bad string of results, then down the table we go. But if we carry on the way we're going, which I think we're going to do, the only way is up. Now, at the right top end of the table, Liverpool is away with it at the moment. At the moment, it's not uncatchable. You never know what happens, and by all reports, I mean, I haven't watched Liverpool play this year. Doesn't sound like they're setting the world on fire. Arsenal certainly don't look as if they're setting the world on fire. We know Aston Villa's measure because we thrashed them. I'm sure we're going to beat Nottingham Forest. It could be a year where we do all right in the league. Who knows? The quad still might be on. And I remember a lot of people at the beginning of the season saying they would be happy with an 8th place if we won a trophy. Well, that's what the season kind of looks like when you don't win every game in the league and finish 8th. You lose quite a few and finish 8th. That's the way it goes. I remember in 1981, I think we finished 10th. Might have even been 11th. I think it was 10th. 10th and won the FA Cup in absolute style. And for us supporters at that time, it was a great season. I'm also hearing people are saying, don't get your hopes up, I've seen this all before. Well, they haven't, but I have, because I was around in the early 80s, and I can see that there is a similar vibe and feeling and attitude from the manager. I think Ange Postecoglou and Keith Birkinshaw have a lot in common, actually. I remember Steve Perryman saying, jokingly, in reference to both Birkinshaw and Bill Nick, has Ange got any Yorkshire blood in him? Just says it the way it is. And I like what he said in his press conference afterwards about, because, I mean, people are idiots, aren't they, the journos? They're saying, was it important to bounce back after the Crystal Palace game? And Ange is keeping it level. Look, just as you don't want to bounce up, what does he say? He said something like, you don't want to climb up a cliff and you don't want to fall off a cliff. It was something like that, and it was true. Just because you had a bad result, that shouldn't incentivize. Oh, it's a horrible word, isn't it? Shouldn't motivate you to put that extra bit in just because you were crap the week before. Equally, now that we've had a really good week after beating Manchester City and Aston Villa in the space of a few days, that's also not a reason why we should be letting our foot off the gas and coasting and thinking we've got this. So, we've got to keep it level. I think Ange is doing a pretty good job at keeping it level. His demeanour after the Villa game, which is one of the best performances I've seen by us in a while. I mean, I've been saying this from time to time, but I think our performances keep getting better, keeping us nice and level. But, if you've got a spare few minutes, a spare 100 minutes, it's well worth watching a good game of football, a game like the Aston Villa game. And I recommend, my personal recommendation is, don't watch it with the commentary off the TV, watch it with my watch along doing the commentary. Because if all you want to hear is a one-eyed Spurs fan being as biased as hell but saying how it is, then this is the channel to do it. That's what I did, just out of curiosity, because when I started doing watch-alongs, I wasn't sure if I could, sustain it or keep going for a full match and make it interesting. And I think after I've listened to it, yeah, I'll do all right. So I'm happy with it, and if I'm happy with it, then that's why I'm recommending it to you. If I thought I was crap, I wouldn't be doing this. So I've got to have something about me, haven't I? So yeah, it was a good thing to do, watching the result, because you could definitely see that, but for the first half, we wouldn't have smashed them in the second half so easily. It's very easy to say 1-0 down at half time, therefore it must have been terrible, and then we must have been good in the second half because it was 4-0. It's all the same game, man. It's all the same game. We were softening them up something rotten in the first half. We were giving them no place to contend on the pitch. And that's partly why they started losing their shit and going into their shells in the second half. We made them do that. We made them bottle it. And as I said before, what happened to Manchester City against Bournemouth. When we play well and we beat a team hard, we beat them so hard they lose their next game. So who knows how that is going to affect the Premiership. There were times in the first 10 games of last year where that was happening quite a lot. We were beating teams so badly they would lose their next game, giving us even more of an advantage in the league. But unfortunately last year we couldn't sustain it. I think the story is going to be very different this year. And just as people were saying don't get too happy about where we were top of the table at the end of 10 games last season, well, we're 7th at the end of the 10 games this season, and I think we're in a nice little position. So don't get too disheartened, man. I think things are looking up. I think our away record is better than last year. We're playing better. We were much closer against Newcastle. Could have won the game, unfortunately didn't. Didn't take the full prize against Leicester, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that that's always going to happen in all our future away games, and I'm really quite hopeful about it. Our first big test will be at Manchester City after the international break. That's away at Manchester City. That's where we'll see who's the men and who's the boys. I think I'd like to say that if we win away against Manchester City, that will shut a lot of people up. But I mean, watching them at the moment, they're so comical, the straws that they're grasping, that it's just not worth engaging with, man. So, almost the next game, Friday morning, Galatasaray, and then Ipswich, and things are looking up. Things are looking up. It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur, by far the greatest team the Galaxy's ever seen. Till next time, folks, peace and love, man. Peace and love, and come on, you Spurs.